Welcome to the Pretty Extreme Podcast. It's been a while. I haven't recorded an episode since 2020, so it's been 2 years. So thank you, everyone who's ever tuned in, which is the six people who have ever listened to this. Thank you for listening to the Pretty Extreme Podcast. I am your host, PX Floro, and I'm back. I'm back from the dead. What have I been up to in the past 2 years? I don't know, marriage and divorce. I know some people are just finding out that I've been married 3 times, and some people didn't even know I was married. And here I am, talk about it today. Whether you're driving, maybe reading a book, or maybe cooking. Thank you so much for tuning in and keeping this going. The best way to show your support is just by listening, sharing, tuning in to my comedy. And this is my first time doing a podcast by myself. And so I want to tell you a little bit, kind of like a refresher as to what this is about. This show is pretty much about the extreme, and it's pretty extreme because I myself am an extreme person, hence my name PX, which does not stand for pretty extreme. It stands for Paula Severa. Was born into such an awkward life, and I'm glad I'm here today to be able to share it with you guys. I've been doing stand-up comedy for about 10 years, and about 2 years ago, I started to do my own podcast. I did interview a couple of other comedians, but today it's just by myself because I want to definitely make a statement on this episode. So let's keep this going. How long I've been doing comedy? Again, I said 10 years. I'm doing this podcast because I want to reach out to those people who want to laugh, who want to cry, who want to hear more about my story and other people's stories, because we are all in the same boat. We all have the same size heart. We all we all have the same voice, right? I mean, some people are actually born without a voice, but um, then there's sign language. So if you have fingers, thank God to those hands, so you can at least still be able to communicate. But there's also people who don't have hands, which makes me kind of wonder, how did they communicate? What if they didn't have a voice either? I don't think I smoked enough weed this during this episode, but I will definitely start. But I've been doing comedy based out of the South Bay of California, San Jose, California. I was not born here, but I'd like to say that I have become a native to San Jose. I've been pretty much raised here. Came over here in 1985 with my parents. Was born in Japan, but I am Filipino born as far as like my culture. People think I look Japanese, and that the reason why I look Japanese is because I was born in Japan. Yeah, that's always been a challenging thing to overcome, because people constantly tell me that the reason why I look Japanese is because I was born in Japan, which would be a whole different outlook in life, right? If you looked the way you were born. I mean, like, let's say I was born in Africa, right? I mean, we automatically assume that, African is dark skin, which is not always true because there's white people there too. But they probably colonized that part. I don't know. I don't know too much about history, but let's just say they did, which a lot of white people did. Just because I was born in Africa doesn't mean I'm going to look African, right? So, yeah, to those people who think that this is why I look like this and say stuff like that, cheers. That little segment was for you. And where can you guys find more of me? You can find more of me on pxcomedy.org. If you're on Instagram, pxcomedy. Thinking about reopening my Snapchat to PX Comedy, but you can find me on PX Comedy on Facebook as well. Be sure to subscribe, follow, like, and you can also find me on YouTube as PX Comedy. Eventually, I'll probably air this as a YouTube episode, but that will probably have its own channel, because I do have a PX Comedy channel, which obviously is for laughs, but this might be on more of the depressing side because I'm trying to connect with people. And it's been very inspirational seeing fellow comedians that are branching out to other things other than comedy. So shout out to Athena Rodriguez. Be sure to check out her podcasts, the talk about woo woo, I believe what it's called. Oh I totally butchered that, Athena, and I'm sorry. And I know it's not talk about woo woo. It's actually called. I'm looking for it. Talk woo woo to me. So be sure to check out her on Spotify. Talk woo woo to me, Athena. You inspired me, so hence this is why I'm recording this episode today, because of you. So I appreciate you, and Sam. Medina, her husband, I listened to their podcast today, and it was inspirational. Made me want to start my own. So be sure to listen to theirs if you're looking more at the spiritual and funny. They're a great duo to listen to, and this is what inspired me to finally go back to doing my own, because I also want to have people listen and know that we're trying to branch out and target certain people who feel the same way as me, who process things the same way as me. And this is for you. This podcast is for you, because if you think you're extreme or maybe not extreme enough, then this podcast is for you. Um, let's see. I want my main thing about this episode, Return of the PX, is mental health awareness. It is something that is very serious to me. And I think, especially during COVID, this pandemic, a lot of people have tried to survive on their own, and a lot of people have survived, but there's also people that we've lost during this time, right? I mean, suicide prevention is one of my main focuses. I 100% believe in suicide prevention. And if there is anyone out there that's listening to this and you think you are alone, you are not. You are not alone. Please reach out to me. If I'm going to come out with some confessions during this episode. So I hope the people who matter to me the most are going to listen to this, because I do have a confession. I'm slowly telling people about what happened during the pandemic. And one of the things that happened was I did attempt to do suicide. Attempt to do, hence attempt, right? I'm blessed to be here today and be able to share this story, because it is not a joke. It was a point in my life last year, a little bit over a year ago, where I thought I was alone. I felt helpless, and I saw myself as a victim. And I'm no longer a victim, thank God. I, looked into why I did it, and then I also looked as to why I will never do it again. And I have to thank my beautiful kids and my friends and my family who have supported me, who I've told and opened this story to, because I found out I had a lot of friends and family that also experienced the same thing. So my heart goes out to those people who have taken the time to reach out to me and tell me their story. This episode's for you, because it has been tough. It has been tough during this pandemic. And again, you are not alone. Things always get better. You just gotta talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about it, write about it. If you don't want to write about it, draw about it. There are so many outlets and resources that you don't need someone to help you get past this. Maybe you just need to hear about it. You don't necessarily need an individual to help you get past this. Maybe you just need to hear it. So this episode's for you. I'm going to remind you guys that I am here for you guys to bring mental health awareness. How did I get to rock bottom, where I wanted to not be here on this planet? I was going through family issues. I thought I was going crazy. Things with my children were on the rocky side. Things with my children's baby daddy, my baby daddy is on the rocky side, and I felt alone. You know, for a person who knows so many people, you would think you wouldn't feel alone, but I did. I felt 100% alone. And at that moment, my third ex husband, you know, gave me a reason to want to do it. And if you are with someone who deals with depression, PTSD, the last thing you ever want to tell them is to go do it, right? Because that gives them the opportunity to challenge that. And we got in an argument, and pretty much it was like, why don't you just go fucking kill yourself? And I tried, you know, I really tried. Me and my ex husband get in a scuffle where he was able to take the knife away from me. And this is graphic, so I apologize if anyone's listening to this and can't stomach this. Stop listening now. Um, but he grabbed the knife from me, and I was just crying like I couldn't do this anymore. I didn't want to do this anymore. I felt like in my darkest place, and I would have to admit that that was the darkest part of my life, because I was willing to sacrifice leaving my children, for this dark moment of my life, and it was definitely the most selfish thing that I could think of as a parent. Will I ever do it again? No. I have brought myself on my own to this mental state to know that life is worth it. It is 100% worth it. You know, I recently lost a cousin. This is my cousin, my first cousin's wife, and she's family, and I consider her a cousin. And she lost the battle to cancer. And seeing that, seeing someone that you care about and that you love was probably one of the hardest things that anyone will ever experience. And it turned everything around because, you know, right now I do deal with depression still. And knowing that there's a person out there literally fighting for their life made me realize that these bills that we stress off of, this relationship that just isn't working, you know, this person that just said something that hurt my feelings. It made me realize that life is so short. Everyone, life is so short and we cannot take life for granted. Um, Rest in peace, rest in power. Gladys, shout out to Gladys Cassiano Floro. She is an amazing individual and continue to be amazing. And I want to everyone to know how amazing she how amazing she is because she still lives on. She lives on with within her husband, within her son, and within us, her cousins, her family, her parents, her siblings. She will constantly live within us. And knowing who she is, she would want me, you, to keep living your life and understanding that life is precious, life is short. Hug your loved ones a little bit more, hug them a little bit harder, be there for them. Don't be that one that says, I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have done that, because that's the type of stuff that people do live with. I never had anyone so close to me pass away in my life. I'm almost 40 years old, and to be able to experience this now, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But I know that knowing someone like her will allow me to live on her legend, and I feel like that's what I've been put on this earth for, to continue to pass her story on, to continue to pass my story on. I'm an open book. I'm always here for anybody who ever wants to reach out just to talk. I'm always here. And Gladys was one of those people. I remember me and her having a long phone call conversation about words of affirmation, being able to start your day. And this is a person who knew that their life was about to be cut short. I just can't even imagine. And my hearts go out to Gladys's family. I've never seen a family come together so strongly, for someone that is so amazing and so great and continue to. So I love you, Gladys. I know you're listening. It's amazing experience to know you. And now here I am doing the Pretty Extreme podcast to be able to share that with everyone else. You know, I find humor in my darkest moments. And one of the things that I was so excited to tell Gladys on her last few days was about this joke that I had. I don't know if I'm going to do it for this episode, but I did mention it to her a couple of days before she passed. And I was like, I hope you're listening, Gladys. And some of the cousins were in the room when I was telling the joke, and they laughed, and it was a good sign for me. You know what I mean? It was definitely a good sign. It made me feel good. And it's also made me sad, you know? It made me sad that this might be the last time she was able to hear it, but I got to remember she's always here, and she'll continue to hear my jokes and continue to laugh. And I'm hoping she's laughing with my other family members that are up there, you know, just partying in heaven, because I know that's what people do up there. They just like to party. No. But even though Gladys isn't here today, she still lives on. And I know for a lot of people's loved ones who's lost loved ones, they're still there. They're always watching over you, and I'm sure they're very proud, I can't even count on it's more than on two of my hands how many people have lost people during this pandemic, and it's not easy. I did lose my auntie Tess from COVID. There was other things that did affect her health, and we did lose her during COVID. So she's definitely parting with Gladys up there, and lost my uncle to COVID due to Fretzel, which is on my mom's side. So times are tough. It's not easy, but I want everybody to remember and know that you're not alone. You are not alone. I'm here. If you need to talk, if you want to laugh, it is my job. I was born to do this. This is going to be a short episode because again, this is me by myself. I was kind of curious to see how long could I talk to myself for, and apparently I can do it for 15 minutes. So, this is episode 1 down in the books. I want to thank everyone for listening. I'm here. Be sure to tune in. I don't know how often I'm going to dish out these episodes, but we're going to start off with once a week. Again, my name is PX Floral. Thank you for listening. You're listening to the Pretty Extreme Podcast.